The Empire's on the run.
I mean, Nixon,
Alex Jones and the GCN
had to leave
Radio
office over
Network.
1/1,000,000th of this.
Using unparalleled research in the development of a synergistic formulation based around the key concepts of superoxygenation, the next level in cleansing is here. With key ingredients backed by real clinical studies, the new Oxy Powder, available through InfoWars Life, was invented during Dr. Group's research on the toxification of our bodies. Many herbal colon cleansers are harsh on the body and contain cheap and potentially dangerous ingredients, oftentimes full of synthetic fillers, GMOs, additives, or worse. Gently start cleaning your body with easy capsules that start working while you sleep. Oxy Powder does not require time off work, and there's no need for bad tasting concoctions. Instead, Oxy Powder slowly releases monoatomic oxygen into the intestinal tract and body. Experience the astonishing cleansing power of superoxide and ozonide technology. Go to InfoWarsLife.com or InfoWarsStore.com to get started with Oxy Powder, or call 1-888-253-3139.
The experts are clear. Sunlight, purified water, healthy non-GMO food, and having a good attitude is essential to a healthy immune system. But I go further with Super Nascent Iodine X2 from InfoWarsLife.com. 50% stronger than our original and revolutionary Nascent Iodine formula, coming from a deep earth crystal source that no other supplier has. Most other forms of iodine come from seaweed in areas plagued by Fukushima and other contaminants. Not our iodine. It comes from over 200-million-year-old crystal salt deposits and is tested and proven to be completely pure. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today. See the informational videos. Read the information they're compiled. And for a limited time, when you use promo code NOW at checkout, you get an additional 5% off the entire family of InfoWarsLife.com products. Secure your Survival Shield X2 today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. Introducing Secret 12, the new InfoWars Life vitamin B12 formulation. Secret 12 is a binary of nutramedical grade, bioavailable coenzyme forms of B12, methylcobalamin, the same kind used in B12 injections, and adenosylcobalamin. Secret 12 is simply taken by mouth, right on the tongue, and then swallowed. No needles, no injections. Secure your revolutionary Secret 12 formula right now at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139. Used since before the days of the Roman Empire to support the body's natural systems. Introducing the new InfoWarsLife.com oil of oregano formulation. We have now procured the most high quality and potent forms of oregano oil on the market. Extracted directly from the wild herb and sealed in easy-to-use capsules. You will no longer need to endure the burning of liquid oregano on the tongue. Now available in our limited first run at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139. You want to stop tyranny? Well, so does Joe Bannister.
You want to stop tyranny? Well, so does he. Live from the Infowars.com studios, it's Alex Jones.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not really that big of a thrill seeker, but I do like 700 horsepower in a car and getting down the middle of nowhere and opening it up. Only one car, production made in America, has that much horsepower. But at the same time, I like to really take risks fighting tyranny. It's in my blood, it's in my genes, it's in my guts. But one reason I get aggressive and I have a lot of energy and I rant and rave is I'm constantly thinking about all the times they've tried to set me up. Or had 5 guys beat me up in a parking lot. And I gave as good as I got. And they were surprised that I would even fight back. I mean, what do you expect? Never happened again. But I guess it is surprising that somebody like Joe Bannister would almost go to jail to tell the truth and be persecuted. But I'll tell you, back when this country was a lot more moral, there were more people like him, so evil couldn't take over. The evil is not all powerful. It's just that good men do nothing. I think it was Thomas Jefferson said that. And it's true. But just the threat, I mean, if I know there's somebody downstairs in my house I am going to get so upset about them breaking in that I'm going to come after them. That's an instinct. And America has gotten this new inverted instinct to just grovel that doesn't protect you. And so I think that's what I'm really trying to get at here is people email me and they call me and they say, you're a fearmonger. It's scary talking about the IRS persecuting people. Well, it's on C-SPAN and the New York Times what Joe Bannister was telling people 16 years ago. I mean, they put Irwin Schiff's, Peter Schiff's dad, in prison. And I've read the stuff on air. He's been a guest on my show. The judge in the ruling put him in jail for decades and said, because you wouldn't stop publishing your book. We have guests we get on from prison who are then banned to talking to the outside world. That just happened last week. I mean, folks, this is what happens in totalitarian countries. And people just have a different perspective than I, because they hear me talking about the IRS and all the stuff that's happening. I think, man, this guy's trying to scare us to go along with the government. And some people think that's why they leave me alone. The government thinks you're cowards and just thinks that I'm up here telling you all this and you're just going to roll over in fear. That's not how it works. Let's say 95% of the public rolls over in fear and 5% doesn't. It's way above that. The globalists can't carry this out if we don't go along with it. They need compliance. We need to stop complying like Joe Bannister did. Not be complicit in aid and abet, open criminal activity. You know, I like the younger Le Pen over in France. And we're going back to our guests and your calls. But her dad came out, I think, almost to sabotage her and endorsed the Vichy French occupation with the Nazis of World War II. France stood down and let the Nazis take over. They didn't fight the Germans. Hitler was there 4 days after the invasion in Paris. Maybe 5%, halfway stood up. And Hitler could barely beat the French. And the French, who'd conquered much of the world and were known as one of the most warlike, aggressive people, got a wimp reputation after that point that isn't even real. What we have here is a foreign corporate takeover of our government, and you see it happening all over the world. Folks, this is illegitimate. It should be so easy to say no. And, you know I'm ranting here, Joe Bannister, former Treasury agent who went public with all this information 16 years ago and has been persecuted but come out of it stronger. I think what I'm trying to get at is people ask why I'm so animated. It's because I realize how real this is. You realize how real this is. And then I want to just give you the floor to cover other IRS topics and some of the good news. I know you sent me an email about some of the positive things, and then I want to take some phone calls. They'll be all over the map.
Thanks. As you correctly point out, you know, part of the reason that we get so animated about this is because we actually pay attention to the people that are suffering. Not only, you know, millions of Americans getting their bank accounts seized and liens put on their homes and financially devastated, but then those people who actually speak up about the IRS and about, you know, why we have an income tax. Where did it come from? You know, it's the darling of Karl Marx, not Thomas Jefferson. But the suffering that goes on, as you know, Kent Hovind, you had him on your show a few weeks ago. Irwin Schiff, you know, another thing you illustrated is how you never know how they're going to attack you. With you, there was a lot of this cloak and dagger, you know, coming up and whispering in your ear kind of thing. They never did that to me. Thankfully, you know, the stuff they had to do to me, they had to come out into the light of a courtroom and a jury. But there's so many tentacles to the octopus and how many different ways that they can attack you. And I don't mean that to scare people, but that's why I try to encourage people to educate themselves. If you think it's bad that Lois Lerner orchestrated this campaign against conservative people, what about the fact that the income tax, as it's administered and enforced, it's a scam in the sense that most Americans aren't even required to pay the income tax. There's no statute that's ever been passed by Congress that makes you liable to pay the income tax.
And that's how they got it through without properly ratifying it, was for 30 years after. This is all in the history books for those that don't know. They said, don't worry, it's not for the general public.
Exactly, and that's what kind of it always, you know, we all have our pet peeve, but I so much wish that the American public, if you're mad that the IRS is attacking, your pro-life group or your pro-marriage group or whatever it might be, how about the fact that they're taking money out of your pockets illegally, and they've been lying to you since, since at least World War II, if not really all the way back to 1916, 3 years after the 16th Amendment. So the lies are so deep, but the biggest lie is you don't even owe the tax, and we're really paying it just out of, a gun to the head. And that's
what
what
about
they do.
The cliche that, we got to fund the government, it will collapse? You're an expert on this. Break that down.
Well, sadly, what people don't understand is, the Federal Reserve is much like a credit card advance. Most people probably understand that. If you take a $5,000 credit card advance because you qualify with your credit rating, they'll give you $5,000 in your account. And then as long as you pay the minimum payment every month, you're fine. If you stop making the minimum payment, then they'll get ugly with you. But, let's say, in the federal government's case, you have, $1 trillion cash advance you can take. And as long as you're making that minimum payment, you're fine. And of course, the bankers, what they want to make sure is happening is where does the government get the money to pay that minimum payment for the cash advance? They get it from you and me. And so the government doesn't care if they have to, well, frankly, it's easier to lie to you and get you to come forward and give them the money than it is for them to actually tell you the truth or just do it because, the law requires it and then enforce it. It's so much easier to lie to people, and that's what they've been doing for decades. And I'm just, part of my job, hopefully, is at least to infect the jury pool out there. There's still Americans that serve on juries. And we need them to wake up. And the next time that there's a tax allegation against some defendant, don't be so quick to accept that the government case that, this is another tax cheat. He doesn't want to pay his fair share. That's a load of crap. And people need to wake up to that and how deep the lies go. And, if they're going to, the other thing that got to me, Alex, I always thought, well, how can they be so brazen at taking our Second Amendment rights and our First Amendment rights? What do they think? And then I realized, well, if they can rip us off, take money out of our wallets via the income tax, and that's a scam that most Americans aren't even required to pay it in the first place, well, then sky's the limit. They can do anything, right?
That's right. And now, if they can arrest reporters for reporting on WikiLeaks and then ban them from talking to media while they're in federal prison, then the sky's the limit. I mean, that's the thing. We are so deep into this that I'm really worried about the next shoe to drop. I do see an awakening, but it's kind of like being awake while you're being burned at the stake or something, Joe. In your gut, where do you see all this going?
Well, I see hope, and I also have great concern. America Freedom to Fascism, which I'm sure a lot of your listeners have seen, but I always encourage people to get that film continue to be seen even by more people. Aaron Russo did an incredible thing for us before he departed this world.
And he made it with bladder cancer. He was in great pain while he made that movie.
That's right. So, watching films like America Freedom to Fascism, realizing that people like myself or Kent Hovind or Alex Jones or anyone that's actually being attacked, they are your neighbor, okay? Just because your neighbor down the street isn't being attacked or you're not being attacked or your cousin isn't being attacked doesn't mean that people are being attacked by the IRS, by the federal government, being tripped up by these thousands of pages of regulations. And we need to speak up and speak out louder, and we really need is more numbers. We need more people.
Sure, I mean, but also, look, the IRS won't even answer calls or tell people how to comply with Obamacare as they prepare to start grabbing bank accounts and paychecks if you don't buy it, and then they lied and said they weren't going to do that. I mean, it's just the lying, too. I mean, how many lies do we have to buy from these people?
Well, again, that's why I encourage people to learn a little bit more about these tax laws. You don't have to be a tax attorney or a CPA to recognize the way that the IRS, like, for example, the 1099 situation. Most people know what a 1099 is, and they think, oh, I paid someone over $600, therefore I need to issue them a 1099.